Number 9, Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaquille O'Neal, we'll go over the resume quickly, and then we'll get to the playoff stuff, and then we'll have a long discussion. 8-time first-team All-NBA. 2-time second-team All-NBA. 4-time third-team All-NBA. That is 14 All-NBA teams, tied for the 5th most ever. He only won 1 MVP, which is insanity, but 8 times he finished in the top 5. He's a 2-time scoring champion. He's 3-time All-Defense. He is 8th all-time in blocks. He is 8th all-time in points. Over his 10-year prime, he averaged 28 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks. In year 2, at age 21 years old, fresh out of LSU, he was 29 and 13. That good in year 2. He also was the guy who allowed me kind of set the precedent for me including Luka in my 50 of the last 50 because he was included on the NBA's 50-year anniversary team, even though he'd only been in the league 5 years. Before I get into the playoff stuff, I want to say something about Shaq. I think you could argue, in fact, I would argue, under these parameters, he would be considered the greatest player ever. If the question is, you can have any player in NBA history for one game at his apex peak of his powers, who are you choosing? My answer is Shaquille O'Neal. Because as great as Jordan was, as great as Kareem was, as great as LeBron was, even at their apex peak, they might have an off night. It's unlikely, but they might have an off night. As I will prove to you, during Shaquille O'Neal's true apex peak, he never had an off night when he cared. Ever. He had a 3-year run of not only 0 bad finals games, but 15 for 15 on outstanding kick your teeth in finals games. But that's not the only reason he's 9th on the list, but it's one hell of a start. Okay, so let's get to the playoffs. He's a 4-time champion. He has 3 finals MVPs. He has 6 finals appearances, and he was the unquestioned best player on 5 of those 6 finalists. I would argue he was the best player on the 6th finalist, the 06 Heat during the regular season, but in the playoff run, obviously D Wade was the best player. And in fact, here's a shocking stat. Antoine Walker was the 2nd leading scorer during the finals on those Miami Heat teams. Shaq was 3rd leading scorer, but we'll spend more time on that once we get to that year of his career. So let's just go, and this is going to be how we do it. I need to take a sip of this coffee because there are going to be a lot of numbers here. I understand for podcast listeners, even for the YouTube viewers, it can be a lot to process, but I know sometimes you listen to podcasts on 1.5 speed. You might want to even slow this down because we're giving you a lot of numbers, but they are all jaw-dropping. 1994, his first playoff game ever. 24 points, 19 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 5 blocks. That is his first playoff game of his career. The very next year, the series we pretend didn't happen. Hey, raise your hand if you were the best player on a team that beat Michael Jordan in a playoff series during Jordan's prime. You know who gets to raise his hand? Shaquille O'Neal, and that's it. 1995 against the Bulls. Averages 24 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. To get to the finals in the next round, in the conference finals, averages 27 and 10, including 2 different games with at least 35 points and 10 rebounds. In the finals, against the greatest defensive player of the last 50 years, Hakeem Olajuwon. He's in his 3rd year. He's in the finals against Hakeem. 28 points per game, 13 rebounds per game, 6 assists per game on 60% shooting. But they got swept. Nick Anderson misses the 4 free throws, and the Shaq getting swept was going to be a theme. But when I tell you 28, 13, and 6 on 60% shooting in the finals, now keep this in mind. That will be the worst finals performance we see from Shaq over the next decade. 1996, the very next year, starts the playoffs or starts round 2 off with a 41-13-6. Gets to the Eastern Conference Finals against those 72-win Bulls, but the Bulls then sweep him. So now he got swept by Akeem and got swept by Michael. How did Shaq do when he got swept? Just a humble 27 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. That was his average while getting swept. One of the reasons he left. Like, okay, I give you 27, 11, 4, 2, and 2, and I get my ass swept out of the playoffs. Maybe I need to leave. Goes to LA. First playoff game with the Lakers, 46-11. And then they play Utah in round 2, loses to Utah, averages for the playoffs 27, 11, and 3. 1998, in his first Western Conference Finals, averages for the playoff run in 1998. Not for a series, not for the entire playoff run in 1998. Shaquille O'Neal averages 31 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks, on 61% shooting. In his first Western Conference Finals, he has a 39-15, followed by a 38-7. Lost both those games because he got swept again. So this is young Kobe. Kobe has the air balls. He's not ready. Shaq, again, on Karl Malone and the defending Western Conference champion Jazz, hangs a 39-15, followed by a 38-7, loses them both. And now it's like, oh boy. Like, Shaq sure gets swept a lot. The next year, 1999, for the playoffs, averages 27-12. But guess what happens to him in round 2? Guy named Tim Duncan is in the league now. He sweeps him. So now Shaq's swept again. And people are like, oh boy, as great as Shaq is, and as great as the numbers are, isn't it weird he keeps getting swept? So how does Shaquille O'Neal respond? He responds with what I believe to be the most dominant 3-year stretch of any player in league history. More dominant than anything Kareem, Michael, LeBron, Magic, anyone ever did. So pull up a chair, boys and girls. We're going to need a minute to talk about these 3 years because these are the numbers will prove it to you. 2000 for the playoffs, averages 31 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. One of the most dominant start to finish playoff runs ever, but it's not even his best. His best will come next year. He started the playoffs off with a 46-point, 17 rebound, 5 block game. The first 3 games of round 2, 37-14, 38-20, 37-17. He starts off round 3 with 41 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 blocks. And then that was the series against Portland. They're up 3-1. They lose game 5. They lose game 6. They're down 15 in the 4th in game 7. And then the iconic Kobe to Shaq dunk to get them in the finals. And then in the finals, and each game of these finals deserves massive recognition, okay? In the finals, game 1, 43 points, 19 rebounds. Game 2, 40 points, 24 rebounds. That was the game Hack-a-Shaq was kind of invented. He shot 39 free throws that game. He missed 21 of them. So he missed 21 free throws, still had a 40 and 24. Game 3, 33 and 13. Game 4, 36 and 21. Game 5, 35 and 11. Game 6, 41 and 12. That's 6 games to win his first ring. His worst game was 33 and 13. Like I said, not his best playoff run, not his best finals. The next year, you could argue this is the greatest team of all time, the 0-1 Lakers. They lost 1 playoff game the entire time. Kobe was ascending and Shaq was, well, unstoppable. For the playoff run, 30 points, 15 rebounds, 55% shooting. Sweeps Portland in round 1. Starts off a sweep of Sacramento with 44 and 21, followed by 43 and 20. Back-to-back 40 and 20s to say, Sacramento, nice try. Next year, you'll have a real chance. Not this year. Now he gets revenge. He sweeps the Spurs in round 3. And then their one loss of the finals, the one loss of the playoffs, game 1, the famous Allen Iverson step-over game, Shaquille O'Neal in that game, 44 points, 20 rebounds, 5 assists. 44, 20, and 5. Game 2. This is the forgotten near quadruple double. We talk about Tim Duncan almost having a quadruple double quite a bit. Game 2, he has 28 points, 20 rebounds, 9 assists, 8 blocks. 28, 20, 9, and 8 to even up the series. Averaged for the series 33, 16, and 5 on 57%, 45 minutes per game. And here's the other thing. Everyone says, oh, well, that Sixers team didn't have enough talent. That Sixers team didn't have offensive talent. But you know who they did have playing center? The defensive player of the year, Dikembe Mutombo. So Shaquille O'Neal in the finals to win a second ring against the defensive player of the year averages 33, 16, and 5 on 57%. The next year, okay, now they're facing real adversity. Kobe and Shaq starting to fray. They've won back-to-back titles. You know, the only three-peat is Jordan. He's the only guy to do it. Did it twice. Well, the only three-peat post, in the modern era. Down 3-2 to Sacramento. In the historic and questionably officiated Game 6, he hung a 41 and 17 on them, including 13 of 17 at the free throw line. Game 7, he hangs a 35 and 13 on them in a win in overtime, including 11 of 15 from the free throw line. So when Shaq says, I made him when I counted, during their 3 championship years with the Lakers, they only truly faced adversity in 1 series. Well, 2 series. The Portland series, the first year, and then this series. But facing elimination, Game 6 and 7, he is a combined from the free throw line 24 of 32. That's 75%. Okay? In the finals, averages 36 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks. The games were as follows: 36 and 16, 40, 12, and 8, 35 and 11, 34 and 10. So those 3 years from 2000 to 2002, Shaquille O'Neal in the finals. 15 finals games, 12 and 3 overall record, averaging 36 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks on 60% shooting. Nobody can argue anyone's ever been more dominant in the biggest moment than Shaq during those 3 years. And then we can be quick the rest of the way. In 2003, as the 3-time defending champ, throws up a 29, 15, 4, and 3 against Kevin Garnett in round 1. Averages 29, 15, 4, and 3 against Kevin Garnett in round 1, including when they were down 2-1 in that series, throws up a 34-point, 23 rebound, 6 assist game. And they end up losing to the Spurs who go on to win the title. He averages 25, 14, and 4. The next year, they're back in the finals. Everyone on that team struggled, except for Shaq, who once again had to deal with the defensive player of the year. This one in Ben Wallace. How'd he do? 27 points, 11 rebounds per game on 63% shooting. He had a 34 and 11 and a 36 and 20. They lost both of those. 2005, he goes to Miami. They instantly get to the conference finals, but they lose to Detroit in 7. And in 2006, he had a couple great playoff moments with the Heat that year. He had a 30-point, 20 rebound, 5 assist game to beat Chicago in round 1. And to get to the finals, to get that Heat team to the finals, this was his last really great playoff game. 28 points, 16 rebounds, 5 blocks on 12 of 14 shooting to clinch a finals appearance. And then in the finals, he wasn't great. D-Wade was, and that's kind of the end of it. So how does the all-time playoff resume look? 12 career 40-point playoff games. That's 8th all-time. 55 career 30-point playoff games. That's 8th all-time. 49 career 30 and 10 playoff games. That's 4th all-time. 12 career 40 and 10 playoff games. That's 3rd all-time. 25 career playoff games with a game score, that's Basketball Reference's catch-all metric, of at least 30. The only people with more are LeBron and Michael. He's 5th all-time in playoff points. He's 4th all-time in playoff rebounds. He's 4th all-time in playoff box. He's 5th all-time in finals points per game at 28.3. His career playoff average over 216 games, which is 2.5 full seasons of playoff basketball, is 24 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. That's Shaquille O'Neal. That's how you become one of the 9 greatest players ever. We have a Shaquille O'Neal caller. Let's get to him.
Question about Shaq. 1 for 22 in his career from behind the arc. If Shaq played now, do you think he would bomb threes?
He would not bomb threes. And Wilds, who is my beloved colleague and coworker, found a way to almost put a damper on what was just a brilliant 15 minutes of Shaquille O'Neal love. He would need to bomb threes, just like Kevin Durant's asking him how he would guard the pick and roll. And Shaq correctly said, here's the thing, you would not be able to guard me. There is no era in which Shaq would not be utterly dominant. He did it against anyone and everyone. The defensive player of the year doesn't matter. At his peak, no one could hold him under 35 and 15 a game. 9th best player of the last 50 years, Shaquille O'Neal. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button to get more from the show, and make sure to click the bell to get notified every time new content drops. Check out full episodes of What's Right wherever you get your podcasts, or just click the link in the description below.